Welcome to People Like Us, an exploration of how people like us live. Each week, the conversation explores different expressions of luxury, lifestyle, and modern living in Jamaica. In today's episode, we look at entrepreneurship, wellness, and intentional living in a world where success is often measured by how busy we are. Has luxury shifted away from status and possessions towards peace, freedom, and balance? Joining the conversation is entrepreneur and Ash CEO, Angeli Martin Spencer, who is a Jill of all trades, because guess what? She knows everything, and what she doesn't know, she gets certified, which is why we love her.
We learn.
Welcome.
Thank you, Novia. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can we really slow down? Is it a luxury? Is it a fallacy that we're able to actually do things slower?
So when you're speaking about the luxury, yes, we are able to. And what I love in my line of work now is that we create the spaces for us to slow down. So for me, the luxury of space it works simultaneously with other things, because you have the financial space, emotional space, and mental space. And those are very important because in a world that's so busy,
yes,
we have so many things going on with social media and DMs and emails and work and people. The luxury of carving out a space for yourself to either escape all of that, and it's your sanctuary, or to invite into that space those whom you choose. And that's the true luxury, is when you actually have the ability to create that space that's 100% you. It's for you, it's by you, and it's about you. In my business, so in real estate and design, square footage is what we talk, and we speak in square footage, right? And of course, the people who can afford it can afford more square footage. But do we all need more square footage? Do we all need a lot of square footage? No, we do not. So well,
sometimes it's like asking a woman if she needs another handbag. Come on.
We will get to that. We'll get to that. But truthfully, it's not how much space you have, it's how you're utilizing the space that you do have. It's not filling the space with things. It's the ability to remove things that don't serve you from your space, and you curate the space that works for you. So I think what we need to do more of
declutter.
Precisely in creating our spaces. So you can walk into a mansion, a huge home, and your eyes can't rest, you can't settle, you feel overwhelmed because it is just filled with too many things. So they have the maximum square footage, so they filled it with maximum things. So it's also a thing of Jamaica. So all of us growing up, we saw you buy a set, no matter the size of the house, the set come with a 3-piece sofa, a 2-piece love seat, and a single chair. And you're not leaving Courts or Ashley without a 3-piece set, despite whether your house can fit it or not. And we fill the walls, and we fill the whatnot, and we fill the buffet, and we fill everything. But we don't need all of those things. So no matter what, there's always this sort of dis-ease and not enough rest. Your eyes can't rest on anything. You can't feel settled. It's too much. So you can walk into a big house, and it has too many things. You can also walk into a small house, and it feels light and airy and free, because the space is curated for that person who lives there. And so what we need to do, I think the strength and the luxury of removing things that don't serve you is a total flex, as opposed to filling it with things. Imagine curating 10 very meaningful things, 10 pieces that mean something to you. Your first Jean Pearson mask that was gifted to you, or that you purchased, or that Jean himself gifted you. Imagine curating pieces like that, a piece of your mother's or your father's or your grandmother's, curating 10 very beautiful, special pieces, as opposed to just filling things that were in season or on trend, 50 of those. So I think the ability of remove those and to just curate those, it tells a story. It brings there is sentiment. It brings a sort of calm, a balance to your space. It means something, it's meaningful. And so your home feels special because our space it's our escape. It's your liberty. It's your luxury.
How does one learn to edit? I mean, you said, that, you know, you have a mansion and you want to, the first thing is that, oh, I'm in a bigger space, so I need lots more things.
So a lot of people confuse, like the space doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel right. Something feels off. So most people have the tendency to add something. Sometimes we may have to exercise some discretion and actually remove something, because maybe the presence of something that is setting off the space rather than the absence of, you know what I mean? It's the absence of something may actually help the space. So in removing things, it's also things, it could even just be attachments. It could be something that forms a bad memory. So you see, for us,
so there's
life is
positive, there's
short.
positive
Precisely.
space,
Yes,
and there's negative space.
and there's
positive
things,
energy,
exactly,
and negative energy.
So
Okay.
you have to remove those negatives. So it's also sometimes, which is why sometimes you have to enlist a
professional.
specialist, exactly,
Definitely.
a professional to help you. It could be someone who specializes in feng shui. So sometimes you may have the eye, you may be able to see the things that you like, but you don't have the ability to put it together. So I've done a project where the client had exquisite taste. She could purchase everything that she loved. It all worked together, but she had no idea how to put it all together. And so
Well, that's where you come in. That's where the
Exactly.
professional
so
comes
she
in.
called and we emptied the container and she left me to it and I curated the space for her and she loves it. You figure out, how does she live? How does her life function? And you just said, okay, you just appreciate the beautiful things she's purchased and you just put it all together. And she'll look at things like, I would never think to do it. And I'm thinking, how could you not? Because you have such exquisite taste. But it's just, she doesn't know how to put it together. So sometimes you just have to enlist someone to even just do that. Because that's another thing as designers and decorators and creators, of course you want to create the project of your dreams and the space of your dreams, but it's of my dreams, it's not of the client's dreams. And so what you have to do, you have to find the ability to curate spaces for people. So both of us love it. I have to figure out what works for the client and find a way to create such a beautiful space.
So you really have to kind of, I guess there's objectivity.
Precisely.
I mean, you're involved. I mean, obviously there's subjectivity because you're involved. But then, as you said, you have to, take yourself out of the equation and focus on what the clients, would appreciate and how their life works.
But even on the flip side of what I was saying, removing something that has a bad memory, for example, but also keeping things that have sentiment. We can speak to that. I love in my work to almost always keep the things that people love first, things that people are attached to first, and find a way to have it work in the space. So usually it means refurbishing it. So I like to call it giving it a rebirth. You repurpose it, you refinish it, you redo it, and you give it life. Because what I'm finding a lot of is we fall into this trap of marketing, and luxury is becoming that, or the definition of luxury is affiliated with what is popular, what's trending. And so we're throwing out very special, beautifully made, exquisitely crafted furniture, for example.
Yes. Are you looking at me? I'm guilty.
Press board, press board and something I just assembled with Allen key. So I'm trading in a piece that has beautiful dove and tail construction in the drawers that will never fall apart, for something that I have to assemble with an Allen key, and within 12 to 18 months the chair starts to rocking. Like, why is the chair rocking? And it's because it's assembled with an Allen key. And it looks beautiful, but it's not solid hardwood, and so it's a lot of the times, and people don't even realize how much of a flex that is as well, because it offers you get to keep this beautiful piece, you get to refurbish it, you get to see it in a different light. Clearly your taste differs from grandma's taste.
Yes.
However, grandma's piece is exquisite, so we find a way
there's
to...
history.
There's history, there's attachment, there's sentiment. So how do you bring grandma home with you and let grandma's piece fit into your home beautifully? You spray it a lacquered black or lacquered blue, and you line the back of it with a beautiful wallpaper, and then her secretary now becomes this beautiful dressing table. So you have to think just outside the box, but grandma's piece remains with you. It's in the home. It's sturdy. You've just given it new life, and it's now become yours.
But how do we, in a world where everything is instant and we want everything now, and everything has got to be modern and fresh and out with the old and in with the new, how do you actually, is it something that you can teach? Preservation?
It is something, but you know what? But that also allows for the new. So for me, I love kitchens and bathrooms, but I love kitchens in particular. And there's almost every once a house is over 10 years old, the kitchen needs to be refurbished.
Yes.
And so, if I can save the bed, a nice sideboard, and maybe reupholster a sofa, and I can save $1.5 million instead of replacing it, that $1.5 million is going towards the kitchen. We are getting that countertop we love, or the backsplash, or the new cabinets. Or you get exquisite lighting. So you keep grandma's pieces, you keep mommy's piece, you keep a few pieces, and then you can get the exquisite chandelier over grandma's dining table. It is brand new, it is beautiful, it is on trend. You have the something new and you have the something old. And it is the marriage of the two that now makes it become your home. It's the luxury of balancing both. It's the luxury of maintaining sentiment with with nouveau. It's all of those things. That's a true luxury. So for me, wherever you can save is where it allows you in your budget to splurge in another area of your space.
I'm happy that you mentioned wallpaper. I know that's your thing.
That's my thing.
And it was once upon a time, it was de rigueur, and then it disappeared, and then thankfully it's now back. So it's your thing. Why is it your thing?
It's the ability to bring just incredible texture and pattern and a mood into a space that is fixed, that is prominent, and that is a place that helps your eye rest. Sometimes it can be the exact same color as the walls, but it just brings in texture, for example. Sometimes it's very bold and over the top because you want a minimalist, like a simple couch or a simple statement or just on your bed. It just adds these layers and textures of just luxurious beauty. So you know me, Novia. You've known me for 30-something years. Yes. I am everything lifestyle. I am in love with lifestyle. I'm defined by lifestyle. I have a love for it. Everything beautiful. So for me, spaces have to have just an elevated level of beauty. And for me, wallpapers do that.
So what
there's no paint color that can challenge
wallpaper.
A wallpaper.
Tell us about your journey with wallpaper, though. You love it, but you didn't just kind of wake up and say, "Okay, I love it."
So I have the privilege. I fall right in between that era when wallpaper was either pariah or or priority, right?
Exactly.
So
the two P's.
I was in the two P's, and I was right smack in the middle. I did not grow up with wallpaper in the 60s and 70s. But as soon as I had any awareness of a space, I just love that, the ability for this beautiful thing to transform the space, and it adds texture and it adds just luxury to a space almost every single time. And so I remember I've had wallpapers in my home for 20 odd years, and people are now getting into wallpapers. So for as long as I've had my home, I've had wallpapers in my home. And I only knew one person who was doing wallpapering. And I remember at one point, it was so difficult to get him to do an installation. But when I finally made the decision to go into interior design, because you know me, I've done the food, I've done the fashion.
It's all lifestyle.
It's all lifestyle and it's all me. So after food and after fashion, I finally decided it's interesting. All of those.
But food never left and fashion never left.
It never left. But it's just
interesting. Added different components.
They chose me.
Yes.
For interior design, I chose it. It's the first of the things that I did that I actually chose. I made a conscious decision that this is what I want to do. And of course, it's always been with your encouragement, because you sort of gave me a little push, like a kick, shove in the back. And I remember when I finally decided to do it, and I just knew that I wanted that to be my signature. I wanted that to be a part of my brand is wallpapering. It's also the love of breathing new life into new pieces. And so I decided I was going to go away and I was going to go to the UK. Of course, you have to go to the source because everywhere you turn in the UK, there is wallpapering. And so I found a course and I flew to Oxford, and I said I flew to Oxford to learn upholstery. Then I learned wallpapering and upholstery, and I made that my specialty when I came back. And it served me so incredibly well because it's interesting now. It's like my side hustle. Even when I'm not decorating people's spaces, I'm installing wallpapers, and I love it.
And I love the fact that you, as you said, nobody can ever make you redundant. Nobody can ever fire you.
Not at all.
Right, you're on your own clock.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
on your own business.
Exactly. I did 2 installations today before I came here.
There you have it.
Because I just love it, and I realize that I'm learning so many different applications. I'm working with so many different papers. I'm doing ranges from something that costs $9 a roll to something that costs $900 a roll. Like, it's that high. So no, it's on a whole nother level.
Exactly.
It's textured.
Because you
it's
can't.
thick, it's woven.
And
it's
you have to get it
embroidered.
right one
it's
time.
beading. It's shells. Like the levels at which these papers. So of course now I'm going to have to do another refresher. So I went to Florida the other day. I reached out to one of the installers that I know there, and I was like, listen, I need to come and I need to observe you just for a while, just to see, they have new pastes that I have to use, so the adhesives have changed.
Yes.
I now have started to add like an anti-mold, like you can't even imagine it. The tools are different, the applications are different, the adhesive
so
is
it's
different.
not something that it's a one-off.
Absolutely not.
You have to always
Constant learning.
be learning. You
Constantly learning.
You have to be receptive to knowledge
Yeah,
on a day-to-day basis.
Precisely.
Okay.
And then you meet the papers like now I'm starting this thing where I'm just taking a sample of the paper and the label and just stapling it just to recall exactly this, which paper it was, how the application was. I've had to even adjust things like peel and stick. Peel and stick is great for short term. It's good for like a rental. If I rented a space and, just anything temporary, something that you just want to add that bold touch. So peel and stick was introduced for that purpose. So it's not meant to stay on forever. But the problem is it doesn't adhere. I'm finding it doesn't adhere to our cinder walls. So if your wall is an old concrete wall where before we started plastering and it was a very smooth texture, if you look at most cinder walls, they have like a lot of the sand. So it's sort of grainy.
Yes.
So for painting and it's fine, and just to the eye it looks fine, but it's very heavily textured. And so what happens is the adhesive doesn't go all the way. The paper is thin, so the paper it end up inevitably having gaps, for example, behind it, because you can't with paste you can get into the grooves and you can apply the paper, but with peel and stick it just doesn't adhere to concrete very well. Some of them, so even that they come from $2 a square foot or a square meter to $200 a square meter. And of course, the $200 one, it sticks and it stays in place and it's great.
Of course.
So it's all of these things. It's continued learning. It's so vast, but I'm so glad that I have the luxury of learning, the luxury of installing, and
the luxury of creating exquisite spaces.
Creating spaces.
And that's luxury.
That's luxury.
The luxury of space, the luxury of time, the luxury of knowing what's too much.
Exactly.
And the luxury of knowing when to bring in the professional because you don't know.
And the luxury of knowing what's enough. And I find one thing that we don't do, same thing, you feel you have a home that has, you have to create, you have a space for everything and everything in its place. So if you have a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house, for example, and it's a couple, it's just 2 of you, your children are gone, you're an empty nester. Dedicate a room to the thing that you love. Something that we don't do, a luxury that we don't explore enough, that we don't indulge in enough, is treating ourselves. Is treating ourselves to a space that serves us.
That serves us.
So if your love is fashion or clothing, you go out a lot, you collect things, you're a collector, you convert that bedroom to a walk-in closet.
Yeah.
And you make it
a collection of clothes.
A collection of clothes, which is fine.
Which sometimes you need to
you purge. It's the same.
Restrain.
But even with the restraint, Novia, it's the same thing. If you have the luxury to purchase or to acquire, whenever new things come in, there's always some old thing that is going to go out.
That's very true. That's
And
very true.
it doesn't have to go into the landfill. It can be donated. It can be recycled. It can, I mean, nowadays they're having even wonderful,
Softly worn.
softly worn,
situations.
exactly,
You know, as
committed to a workspace. If you work from home, you create a beautiful workspace just for you. You decorate that room exactly how you would have decorated. You can't have black walls and a black ceiling in the rest of the house, but you can certainly have it in your space. You don't want wallpapers everywhere, but that is a space that is committed to you. And if you don't have a room, you create a nook. If you don't have a room that you can take, you take a chair and you put it in a corner, and that is your space. Everybody knows that that chair is yours. This is where you watch TV from with the family. This is where you sit and you decompress, and you just carve out the luxury of carving out spaces for ourselves.
And we could actually talk about the luxury of space, the
On and
luxury
on and on.
of, you know, wallpaper, the luxury of editing, the luxury of, repurposing forever. But the good thing is that on The Rock, we have professionals like yourself.
We do.
We have, people that you can actually call. It's a luxury because once upon a time, the perception was that you had to do everything yourself.
Yep.
The perception as well was that, it's just something that people do on the side. As you said, nobody can ever fire you. You work when you want to work, and you're creating exquisite spaces. Lovely talking to you.
It was lovely being
And
here.
the
Thanks for having me.
conversation will continue. Rock Luxury with Angeli Martin Spencer.